Thank you, Alaskan Corda. Tánaiste, as you are aware, the Commission on Defence Forces recommended significant changes to the Defence Forces. The changed security situation in Europe with Ukraine having been invaded by Russia, and now we also have Britain gone out of the European Union. I believe that we need to review the number of facilities for army personnel and their location. The Central Border region, as you know, has no army installation, and this needs to be reviewed. I'm talking about, we have Aiken Army Barracks in Dundalk in the northeast and Finner Camp in southwest Donegal. The Central Border region has no army installation, and I think that needs to be revisited as a matter of urgency. Thank you, Alaskan Corda.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Deputy for raising this, and Deputy Smith has been very persistent in relation to this issue in terms of the structure of our Defence Forces insofar as it applies to the Central Border region. And you've mentioned Cavan Barracks and Aiken Barracks and so forth. And look, I am committed to the transformation of the Defence Forces into a modern, fit-for-purpose organisation to defend the state to meet the challenges of today. The Commission of the Defence Forces was established, as you know, on a foot of commitment in the programme for government. Its report was published in February 2022, and a significant body of work has been undertaking, encompassing wide-ranging terms of reference, and it recommended significant changes for the Defence Forces and defence provision in Ireland. It covers high-level Defence Forces structures, defence capabilities, organisation, culture and human resources, the Reserve Defence Force and funding. And we published a detailed implementation plan in November 2023, which built on the publication of the Commission report itself in February. And then with the high-level action plan in July 22, and then the early actions update, which was published in March of 2023. So there is an ambitious programme of work to move to level of ambition 2 by 2028, and a significant and fundamental change for the Defence Forces that will be delivered across the Commission's recommendations approved by Government. And there are a number of Government-approved Commission recommendations contained in the report which may impact on the structure of the Defence Forces, including that the structure of the Army be reviewed, and in that context the disposition of units across the Defence Forces may be considered. And no decision yet on the future disposition or locations of Defence Forces formations, installations and personnel have been made at this time, and even though it has been identified as an early action in the high-level action plan. And I will be in discussions, Deputy, with my department with a view to having and asking for a review of the Central Border area. The view prior to the last number of years was that they felt that there was operational efficiencies achieved in respect of the closure of barracks, but I do believe that you're raising important points that do merit consideration in terms of future Army Force design.
Thank you, Tánaiste. I very much welcome the fact that the needs of the Central Border region in the context of defence and security issues will be taken into consideration in the review of the structures and location of Army installations. I very much welcome that. As you know, on Tánaiste, Dooney was the most modern Army barracks in Europe. It was opened in 1990 and very, very regrettably closed in 2012. It's situated in the Central Border region, and as we know, that border region does not have an army barracks. Now, speaking to people with a lot of military knowledge and experience, it has been strongly recommended to me by those people whose opinion on security matters I value very highly, also taking into account that these people who served at different rank levels in our permanent defence forces are very strong in their view that this is the opportune time to at least reopen Dooney as a forward operating base. I'm speaking to people who played a key role in defending our state against paramilitarism and violence over the years. And the protection of our state in a very difficult and troubled era was very much predicated on our defence forces and other emergency services having detailed knowledge of the entire border terrain. Thank you, Alaskan Corda.
I thank the Deputy for his question again, and I understand you've done a lot of research on this and you've spoken to a lot of military personnel. I will review this and I will ask my department to factor in any potential use of barracks in Cavan in terms of future operational needs. I certainly will bring what you have said to me to the table and ask our officials to review the use of the barracks into the future and a potential use of it, as you've outlined in respect of the military sort of consultations you've had with former personnel and so forth.
Thank you very much, Tánaiste. And without our permanent defence forces being based locally, that knowledge is not readily available. At different times, that knowledge in the work of defence forces played a critical role, not just in day-to-day security matters, but was also central to our state's work in keeping our country free of animal diseases over the decades, when there were outbreaks of foot and mouth and BSE that threatened our farming and food industries. We must never underestimate in our work the importance of local knowledge and the advantage of decision-making by personnel at local level. Dooneynail has accommodation for more than 200 personnel with appropriate equipment and also a helicopter base. By and large, that army installation is totally intact, in good order, and it could be at least used initially as a forward operating base. Tánaiste, you, I, Deputy Bernard Durkin, Deputy Berry and Deputy Staunton discussed in this House previously the link there is between recruitment and an army presence in a town. In my hometown of Cavan, we had a long army tradition where generations after generations enlisted in the permanent defences served our country well, both at home and abroad. The army presence is critical also in increasing our recruitment and retention.
Marks, just in relation to Deputy Smith, I accept what you said in terms of the role of our military in protecting the state, particularly against shocking violence of the 30-year period from the late 1960s to the 90s, and reading a book recently written by Rona McGreevy and Tommy Conlon in terms of the kidnapping of Don Tidy, for example, and Private Kelly lost his life and the Garda lost their lives in that, and it kind of illustrated the role of our defence forces at that time as an aid to the civilian power. There were dark days. I think your point on recruitment is very valid, and it's clear to me that in the closure of some barracks across the country, we lost an element of recruitment and tradition. Many towns across the country had a particular military tradition, which resulted in significant recruits to the army and to the military. And I see that when I do review appraise in terms of people going out to Lebanon and so on. You get the history of families whose fathers, grandfathers have served in the Irish forces, great pride, great sense of local commitment and connection with our military. And barracks did provide that connection.
Thank you,
and I'll bear that in mind.